everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are back again with our entrepreneur series where we interview entrepreneurs, get to know their journey, and understand what the leaders have to speak. And that's why it's Leaders Speak. This time, I have a very interesting person. I know him for a few years, but then every time I speak to him, there's something new to learn from him. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and get Sumit Siddharth. We call him Sid, and he's a serial entrepreneur. He's also been training, and he's actually built a company, sold a company, and he's building another company and been doing so much. But I would let him speak more about himself than me. Over to you, Sid.
Thank you, Andana. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk about my journey. I hope people can relate to it, and I hope people will see in my journey that they can probably see themselves at certain point in their career where they are, and they might some of it may take some learning, some of it may take some failings, and improvise on it like that. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. My name is Sumit Siddharth or Sid, originally from India. I grew up in a place called Lucknow in India. Uh, did my graduation from IIT Kanpur. Now, my graduation was actually in material science and engineering because I was not clever enough to get into computer science and engineering. Uh, but by the end of 4 years of engineering, it was pretty clear that this is not. I've made an error, a schoolboy error of choosing the wrong stream, so to speak, and this is not where I want to be spending the rest of my life in. So back in the days, IITs used to have a very good computer network. We were one of those few colleges which had internet, and everything was connected. And hacking was actually a thing. We used to have a hacking competition. So I got involved into hacking, and through that, it all started. Um yeah, so I think if you, Vandana, you are probably too young to know this, but in 2005 there wasn't really much happening in the world per se, but I think in India even less so. If you told anybody that you wanted to be a hacker in 2005, people would say you're going to end up in a jail or something. It was not an industry. The industry had not established back then. Even the tools of the trade were so basic or so bare. I mean, sometimes when I hire hackers, and sorry if I'm going a little off track, but when we hire hackers these days, they have so many things at their disposal. There is Burp Suite Pro, there is a tool, there is a GitHub repositories for everything, there is so many books to read. But back then, we used to have Paros proxy, and everything was like blood, sweat, and tears. Even the compiling of an exploit was used to be a nightmare. Even to compile the compiler was a nightmare. So yeah, good fun, fond memories of those days. And I think somewhere down the line, those days made me who I ended up being. So from IIT days, I took up a job in Mumbai first, company called NII Consulting. I had a pleasure to work with KK Mukhi for a while, and that was I learned a lot from that man. A very nice guy, very very good entrepreneur. Had a lot of influence again in my early days. Then took up a job in the UK for some time, and after doing a job for a few years, I have said to myself, I can do this. If others can, I can do this. So started a business in 2013 called Not So Secure. That business became fairly successful fairly quickly. In 2018, that business was acquired by a company called Claranet Group in Europe, and I had an exit from that business 2 years later. Then in 2021, I had the entrepreneur itch again, and I said to myself, I think I can do this again. And maybe if I do this again, I can do this a little bit better, a little bit different from last time. I have those experience, and I can dwell on some learnings and some failures of what worked, what did not work last time. So I started SecOps Group, which is my main business, consultancy business, and some cyber education business. Then after the exit, I also wanted to be involved in the journey of more entrepreneurs. So besides SecOps Group, I'm also involved in a few more startups in capacity of a co-founder or an angel investor or a mentor, whatever name you want to give it. So I'm involved in Pure ID, which is a passwordless authentication solution. I'm involved in Red Hat Labs, which is an attack surface management solution. And I'm also involved lately. I just announced my involvement in CW Labs, Cyber Warfare Labs, which are a training company. So yeah, trying a few things. Hopefully, some of this will work.
I am sure, Sid, it'll work. But if I say that I started my career in 2005, will I sound so old?
Well, no, I graduated from IIT 2005 as well. So yeah, same, pretty much similar. Okay. So you have used Paris proxy, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember those days when you don't choose that those cybersecurity as a career, but then you've been just thrown at, yeah, these things are thrown at you and you're like, just go for it. So
Hmm.
those were the things where in my first job it happened. But yeah, very interesting journey, and especially with the entrepreneur journey. There's one thing I remember you were mentioning about IIT. So what was that journey all about? I want to know about that. I know it dates before everything, so I want to know about that.
I think my key learnings from IIT. So before we go into IIT, I think one thing that I look for in an entrepreneur is passion. And maybe self belief, passion and self belief. These are the two things that you cannot create. You need to have it. Okay, and those things I think or resonate very well with me. When I was in 10th standard, I said to my parents, I'm going to go into IIT. And nobody in my family has ever been into IIT. And, they were like, are you sure? So I remember I bought some books and I started to prepare for IIT. And my 11th, um, so obviously we were in UP board back then, Uttar Pradesh, the state of Lucknow. Um, and everybody, once in a while, nobody does their homework, etc., but once in a while we were asked to submit their homeworks. So never done any homework in my life, but I had this notebook which was say IIT JE preparation for 2001. So I submitted that notebook as part of my homework because I had nothing else to submit, and I got so humiliated in front of the entire class. I will never forget that day. But that, now when I look back at those days, that was a little bit of a self belief, maybe a little bit of cockiness, to just put my name out in the world and say, look, I am going into IIT. And when the results came, me and one more guy were the only two people in the school who made it to IITs. So first thing I wanted to talk about is self belief. If you don't believe in yourself or your ability to be able to do it, then it's very hard for you to get people to rally behind you. So if you are an entrepreneur, work on that quotient, and that quotient will not come with time. You cannot have self belief about everything, that tomorrow I will become the prime minister of India. Okay, you will have to start from somewhere, build it up, and then and perfect it over time. Um, so so the IITs, although I did not study computer science, what it did teach me was, both disciplines or lack of it, and both in equal measures. You it was a bit daunting at times. I mean, in my case, I was sharing a room in my first year with All India rank two. His name was Madhur Tulsiani, and he was on a different wavelength altogether. So, and I said, look, if I have to compete with this guy over the next 4 years, I might as well commit suicide. I mean, this is not going to happen. So when you are boxed in that place, you have to fight for survival, and you have to find out, okay, what is it that is going to stick on the wall? Because look, clearly, competing with All India rank 2 when you have scored All India rank 1124, there is a complete mismatch here. Okay. Plus his work ethics, his lifestyle, his culture is totally different, totally. So I cannot become him, and I think I need to realize that I cannot be him. So let us discover myself and discover what I can do. And I think the journey of discovering that, look, yes, you are sitting amongst some of the best talents in the world, and everybody is unique, everybody is different. Sometimes it can ruffle you up and it will hurt your ego so badly, I mean, these were the people who were getting, score of I remember my first IIT scorecard. We were all India's top creep of the crop, as the Indian people used to call us. But first IIT scorecard, out of 100, my score was 0.75. I mean, not even one. I mean, 0.75. How did I how do I even explain it to somebody? That I mean, it wasn't even 1%. It was 0.75%. As simple as that. So yeah, I think the IT days were great when I look back at it. But it was the journey of discovering. yourself started from there. And that was my biggest takeaway. And also disciplines, sometimes when you have to study before the exams, and you have to study, right? You won't study for a whole year round. So again, lack of it was also important back then, that look, knowing that yes, we have not done it for the whole year, but now we have to bite the bullet and we have to do whatever we have to do. My school teacher used to say, beg, borrow, or steal, but get you must have a book when you start the lesson. And that phrase has stuck with me, and I tell to these people, look, I know everybody is going to go about their businesses in whatever way, but beg, borrow, or steal, get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you've explored yourself, I know that you've been investing in different companies, and you've also started your own company, and now you're starting another company of yours. But then, how is this angel investing different from being an entrepreneur, or is
Okay.
it part of the same process?
So, okay, before I go into that, so I run an initiative called Disruptors. It's a disruptrs.io, disruptors.io. Okay, that's my public angel investing portfolio, and where we also invite new startups who can come and apply for it, and then we choose, if I personally want to be part of them, and I also invest with my money. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially once they build and sold a business, they've become very good at preaching, and it's all about, oh, I'll come on board and give me some sweet equity and whatever, and I'll add value to it. I work in a fairly different manner. I put my money where my mouth is. So if I am interested in entrepreneurs and the founders, then I will back them both with my time and with my money, because I feel that that's the fair deal for everybody involved. So right now, I am invested in Pure ID, like I said, Pure ID, Red Hunt Labs, and Cyber Warfare Labs, and hopefully some more in time to come. And again, my take on angel investing is very different from a, probably I don't have an MBA, and I don't subscribe to the philosophy of investing. When you are investing in somebody or some idea or some business, my 10 cents is, don't buy yourself grief. Buy yourself happiness. Okay. If you enjoy working with, make sure that you enjoy working with those founders, right? The last thing you want is you calling this guy, and this guy is looking at your phone. Oh God, how do I answer this? Or you're looking at your calendar and say, looking at that meeting and say, oh no, not them again. I'm going to give them an earful. This is gonna go over their head, and nothing is going to change. So I think always invest in people is very important. Okay, make sure that you enjoy the process. Whether when great minds come together, and hopefully they bring good ideas together. And my school of thought is that if there are great people, good ideas, and you have fun building it, usually you will find ways to make money. Okay, if you are going to focus on money too much and forget about people and forget about the idea, then at least in my experience, it will not work. And I don't want to make money by having grief. I want to make money by being happy, and enjoying and learning the process. And I can tell you, some of the startups are doing great, some of the startups are not doing great, and that is part and parcel of the life. But what is working for me is, I am still very open to receiving phone calls from any entrepreneur and saying, Sid, there is a problem, help me sort it out. Or this is work, this is not work. And I think that is my biggest takeaway in angel investing. A lot of people will throw you a lot of ideas. Again, if you speak to investors, I'm not an investor per se. They will say, oh, what is the go to market strategy? What is the product market fit? How are you going to take it to enterprise? Are they going to invest? The revenue model, and all sorts of different models they will put together. And they are all right. I suppose they have been doing it for a while. Who am I to criticize it? But for me to get involved in, and I genuinely get involved at a very early stage. I'm usually the first person they would want to come on board. And my role is not necessarily to bring in loads of money. My role is to get the business, to basically convert it into a business to begin with, right? An idea to business is where I get involved. Because a lot of people have ideas, a lot of people are going about implementing those ideas in a particular manner. Some of them eventually end up turning into a lifestyle business wherein they make enough money to support them, and that they are comfortable doing it. I get involved. I look into the business and say, look, we want to convert it into a business rather than just you running a lifestyle job out of it. So does that idea, or does what you are doing currently, does it have legs to stand on? Can it be scaled up? If it can be scaled up, what is needed? Do you need more manpower? Do you need more clients? Do you need more? What are the bottlenecks of the business? So that is where I initially get involved in. Maybe I can introduce them to some of my connects. Maybe I can impart them some knowledge. And again, that knowledge could be of different nature. That knowledge could be, I think most of them, they don't necessarily come to me for technical problems. They are more than capable of solving the technical problems, and my technical days have gone by. But I think strategy is where I specialize in. Okay, how do you pitch a product? How do you make sure that the product is, uh, what are the USPs of the product? Or are you speaking to the right audience? How do you approach the right audience? What sort of marketing strategy shall we go to? Shall we go with the conventional, or shall we also try some stunt marketing? What can be the stunt marketing approaches, etc.? So those top level decision makings and inputs in the early days of business can make business or break business. And yeah, that's where I sit in.
Yeah, amazing. And this all actually makes me think that you're actually juggling too many hats at the same time. So how do you balance that out? Because that's like an art. So how do you balance that?
I wish I know the answer to it, and I wish I can sit here and claim that I have been able to balance it. The balance does tips over from time to time. Um, it's important to compartmentalize, and the word compartmentalize is again something very dear to me. Like I said, some businesses will do well, some businesses will not do as well. While I subscribe to the philosophy of let us help each other succeed, let's make sure that you do something for this business, can do something from this, and that business can do something for it, etc. What we don't want to do is collectively drown. Okay, so there is a fine balance in that, and I think over time what I have learned is, there's a famous term in startups which says fail fast, right? If you're gonna fail at something, make sure you fail fast so you can learn from it, and then you can bring those learnings into your business, and improvise very very quickly. So that is something that now that I have been a part of few businesses, that I can sense very early on, bring it on. So again, the compartmentalizing is the key. If one business is not doing well, understand it, explain it to them, don't take it out on another business, treat it as an independent entity, etc. um, Look, I love it. There's no other way I would have it, and I'm actively looking to grow that portfolio as well. Um, Over a period of time, I think this is my biggest learning in life: problem solving. Right? What we are doing is problem solving, and as you get more experienced in life, then you realize that the nature of those problems will change to some degree. Whether you are hacking a computer, again trying to solve a problem, or you are trying to find a work life balance, or you're trying to do whatever in life. It's basically problem solving of various degree of complexity. It's thrown into it, etc. And at the end of the day, it's all about how many problems you can solve, how what were the degree of complexity of each problems, how much time it took you to solve that problem. And I suppose that is efficiency for a human being. And at the end of the day, we are all, as humans, trying to become more efficient in what we do.
I agree. And I think all the things that you mentioned sum up so rightly, that compartmentalize things. I think that's very, very important, or everything would be cluttered and you would not be able to do anything. And even explore yourself. I think that's really good advice, that first explore yourself until the time idea becomes, or idea is not validated. You don't know if you will succeed or you will fail, and you cannot just go ahead and, yep, you were saying you want to say something.
So you do a lot of research, you present at a lot of conferences. In
Hmm.
my early days, I have done the same. I think it always starts with ideas, and idea with itself bring a lot of chaos. And I think when you are in that research phase, you need to embrace that chaos. That chaos has its own joy, it has its own satisfaction that it brings at that point in time. But as you get a little bit more maturer in life, then you learn this art of turning that chaos into something more meaningful, something more refined, something more distilled, right? And I think that is what I do pretty much. When I speak to entrepreneurs, I listen to their ideas and I try to understand the chaos that they are dealing with. And my job is to again basically take away that chaos and distill that idea, so that they try not to they can then be able to think a little bit more freely. Look, all of these things, all of these words, they sound very nice when put together. In real life, this is not a one time process, this is a continuous process. We love insecurity people, we love continuous, right? The word continuous. Continuous security, continuous pen testing, or whatever. So
Absolutely.
I had to throw in that word in your podcast. But I think the audience understood what I meant there.
Right, I agree. Now, I think we can go on and on for this discussion, and we've had in the past as well. Now, this something we do in the end, where we ask the speaker or the entrepreneur to share something which audience should know about. Or is there anything, something that you're working on, maybe a book or something that you would want to share it with the audience, and audience should check it out?
So in the current business SecOps group, we've launched some exams, cyber exams. We've taken a view that look, if you everybody in cybersecurity have done certifications, and we have come to a viewpoint, or collectively as an industry come to a viewpoint, that certifications are okay, but they are not necessarily a defining factor in one's career. Okay, and somewhere down the line, if you think very deeply about it, you will realize that's because the certifications have not been relevant enough for the industry, and that is why the industry has taken a view on that. So we are trying to change that. Okay, with our exams. So first of all, we are only offering exams. We're not offering trainings, and we've taken a view that being an independent, impartial examiner, we will have a better way to be able to stand on our own 2 feet and being an independent examining authority. We're changing quite a few rationales in that. Typically, for an exam, you submit a report. Does anybody ever read your report? If somebody does not have soft skills, is he not good enough for our industry? If the exam is about hacking, you judge him on hacking, right? Not how well his English is to explain what a cross-site scripting is. Uh, in a real world pen testing, will you have access to all the tools? The answer is yes. So don't take away the tools when somebody is hacking. Let him bring whatever he wants to bring. Will you have access to internet in pen testing? You would. Would you use Google? Would you go and search for some blogs on how to hack this, and then reciprocate that in your test? So let people use Google. Let people using Google is part of pen testing. So we are changing a few things with our exams. We are making it more real world. We are making it more realistic, online and on demand, etc., which we hope people will like. We have also have partnerships with Black Hat and DEFCON in our exams. We also make them available through that. So very exciting chapter for me, something very new and exciting, and my team is behind it. So yeah, thank you for letting me pitch it for 5 minutes. I hope the audience will like it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is something which is good, and which can actually check it out. Now,
Mhm.
before we part ways, or before we meet again, is there anything or any piece of advice that you want to give it to the people who are actually budding entrepreneurs, or who are actually planning to be an entrepreneur?
Okay, I think you mentioned it yourself. Clarity of thought is very important. Okay, and that thought needs to grow over a period of time. We talked about ideas, and we talked about a validated idea. So you don't just wake up tomorrow and say, look, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, this is my idea, and I have self belief and I'm going to do it. And if it it does not work, it does not work. Sleep over the idea, grow that idea, validate those ideas, understand ins and outs of those ideas. What will work, what will not work, what if this fails, what if that fails, why will somebody buy it, will somebody not buy it, will it make me money, will it be a lifestyle business, will it be a business? So work on that quotient. That is very important, and that will not happen overnight. That will happen with time. Don't just quit your job tomorrow and think, look, I'm going to do this. Make sure that you have a plan, and make sure that plan has had enough validations behind it. Other than that, definitely try it. Definitely try it. So I will tell you my my 5 cents. I asked somebody before I started the business, and I said, look, do you think I should do it? Because I have a very good paid job, and if I leave it, what will happen? And he gave me this one liner which has stuck with me. And he said, what is the worst that could happen? If it fails, you can always come back and do pen testing. You can always run nessus and burp and validate findings and do more research, etc. And I said, yeah, of course. So don't regret it. If the time goes by, then it will never come. You only live once. Whatever you want to do it in this life.
Thank you so much. That is such a wonderful advice. I'm sure people would adore that, and I'm sure it's going to stay with me as well, because if you don't try, you would never know if you'll fail or what will happen. And what's the worst? You can
Right.
come back to the job again,
Right.
right? That's totally amazing. Thank you so much, Sumit. It was a Sid. It's totally amazing to speak to you always, and thank you for sharing amazing details about you, your journey, and the advices.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone, stay tuned for the more episodes, and do make sure to check out the certification and disruptor.io, as well as the other things that Sid mentioned. And we would see you again. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.